Welcome back to Memories of a Lifetime, our conversation with Alexander Count James. In this episode, Uncle Count talks more about the early days and recounts some of his experiences while in the Army.
My father had wanted me to, get on with the subway because it was a good job that they had for, electrical people did electrical stuff in that. It was the signal department. And so he said I could get on down there, as a temporary, what they call provisional at the time, that you can get on as a provisional. You needed to pass a test, a civil service test, in order to be permanent. But he said you could get on as a provisional and then, still take the test and so on. So they needed, people. So he took me down to J Street and with the headquarters of the MTA, which was just the transit authority at that time. And took me down there and got me signed up, and boom, quick, I was on as a provisional electrician helper. And so I was doing that at the time that I, went into the service. And but I wasn't civil service. I wasn't permanent at the time.
So was that like a year that you were doing that before you went into the service?
It wasn't a full year.
Okay.
But so it was sometime between June 52 and September 53. But I did work for the electrician some number of months in there, and then switched over to the transit authority as a provisional. And then September 53, about the middle of September, the Army. And when I got out, well, before I went in, somehow I had passed the test for it. So you take a test, you pass it, and then you got to wait for them to call you.
This is a civil service test.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I had taken the civil service test and passed it, and was waiting to be, called permanent.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Army came in. So
you weren't drafted, you actually enlisted, am I right?
Signed up for the draft, like Nate did. So you could get that away. I think my thing was, though, in doing the draft was, there were several of us who were going to enlist. Me, Chico, and Vinny, a guy named Vinny, you know him.
Yeah.
So Lefty had been drafted, and he was in the Army, and he used to come back with all these stories about, I don't know if you know Lefty, but he had his stories galore where he was, the hero, I guess. But anyway, he loved that uniform because, girls, loved the uniform too, and that was, put him in heaven, seventh heaven, with that. So, but anyway, as we were talking, so we were going to enlist. So Chico, Vinny, and I went, talked to this recruiting guy, and he said, gave you the story. Oh yeah, if you enlist, you guys can stick together the whole time that you're in and all that, jazz and so on. So I said, okay. So we signed up, and we went down and went through the, I'm trying to think of what they called it at that time. Induction or something, But anyway, we went down to Whitehall Street. Heard of that?
Yeah.
Yeah, went down to Whitehall Street. They examined you and everything, and ready to go. Well, I had the rheumatic fever as a kid, so I had a heart murmur.
Mm-hmm.
So as I was going through, the guy said my heart murmur wouldn't, I couldn't go through with it because of it, So that was it. And but before I got out of the place, he came back and said, nah, he changed our mind. He said, but the reason he gave was stupid. There's a little Puerto Rican guy And he comes in and he said, that guy can make it, you can make it. That guy might have had a heart like a horse. But anyway, he said, okay, you can go. So they changed the whole thing. And so I went through. And then once we got out, because we gotten separated, and then once we got out, and then they told me, okay, when you want to go, and we had said, we'll go this date, a couple of weeks or what have you. And then when I got out, they said, they told them they can't go that soon. And I said, what do you mean? So it turned out, I guess because of the testing that they did, I would be able to go right away and where I want to go, and they couldn't. They had to wait. So that threw a whole monkey wrench in the whole thing. So I said, well, I'm not going. And then they kept, so I wouldn't go when it was time to report. And I kept getting calls that you gotta come
Wasn't it kind of trouble at that point?
Huh?
Wouldn't you get in trouble for not going when you said you were?
Well, I didn't, because I didn't go.
Oh.
Yeah, so I didn't go. And then Chico came back, I guess, sometime later and said, you can sign up for the draft, and then you can, go when you want it. So we all did that, and then something happened with him, and he couldn't go. But now with the draft, you can't back out. So Vinny and I went, and Chico couldn't go. There was something wrong with, physically with him. So anyway, Vinny and I went in and into Camp Kilmer out here, and Chico couldn't go.
Where is Camp Kilmer?
Camp Kilmer's up around Edison.
Okay.
Yeah. Camp Kilmer. So we went there. I guess that was like the first time I was out of the city from the time I got there.
Huh.
First time leaving the city, come out to Jersey to Camp Kilmer. But Chico couldn't go. But then a few months later, we heard he went back to the enlistment thing and got into the paratroopers. So I don't know what the physical thing was, and he is a paratrooper. So he went down to Fort Bragg and trained with the 82nd Airborne.
Yeah.
So he became a paratrooper. And so after Camp Kilmer, they sent me to Fort Chaffee. It was Camp Chaffee then in Arkansas for basic, and they sent Vinny down to Texas for basic. So we got, split up. So he went to Fort Hood, Texas, and I went to Camp Chaffee, Arkansas. And that was it. So that none of the plan worked out.
Exactly. I didn't expect it would.
The way it was. So after Camp Chaffee, then I was selected to go to the Signal School in Fort Monmouth. So when we finished there, and everybody got, all my buddies there got cleared out, and they were, I was there with another couple of guys, and we didn't know what the heck, why didn't we go somewhere, And they didn't. Then they finally said, oh, you're going to Fort Monmouth. I'm going to go to the Signal School, Fort Monmouth. So I said, oh man, Fort Monmouth is, home.
Yeah, and that was a good move too.
Yeah. So of course, when I got there, that was first night. We got there, kind of, I guess, late at night, but I was in the city. Called Dinans, she came down to Port Authority, and so that was great. But anyway, that's what happened after high school. We finished there, got into the Army, but then having qualified for civil service on the subway, but not get the job. So when I got out, I had to try to get that job.
How many years in the Army?
2.
2 years in the Army. You come out of the Army. Did you get married yet?
What I had said, what we had agreed, if I go overseas, we'd wait till I come back. Or wait till I get out rather than get married. But if I didn't go overseas, we would get married. before. So I didn't go overseas.
Yeah.
And so we got married in 1954.
Married in 54.
A year after I had gone in. So I came down. Now, I think the reason I didn't go overseas, because in Fort Monmouth, they graduated, a class every week. So two things happened. One is when it was time for my class to graduate, I had qualified for a higher level of training. So, which was X number of weeks more training. So some guys qualified for that, and we had to stay and, go through that training. So when I was in that training, I got pneumonia. So what they were doing is they had class would graduate this week, they were going to Germany. Another week they were going to, Korea, or Japan. So they were like doing it like that. But then when I got the pneumonia and I had to miss, I think I fell back either 1 or 2 weeks. And then by the time I got out, they were not doing that anymore. They had decided to do some experimental regimen down in Georgia. And so they sent me down there. And this experimental thing was they were going to try to put all kinds of skills together in one company, call it a support company.
Uh-huh.
And so they would have people who could do all kinds of things, the electronics, which I was, and I was electronics repair and so on. So they put me in that. So I went down to Georgia and got into, that kind of company. And then I stayed there until time to get out. But while I was there, I came home and got married and went back.
Cool.
And then Doc came down to visit me. So we got married in October. She came down to visit me in March and got pregnant. So by the time I got out, I guess we were having a kid.
Mm-hmm. And that would have been Audrey.
Right.